we used to do sector area. Remember, sector area was we had a circle, and we will find the area of part of the circle, right? That's what we call sector area. But now, what we're going to do, we're going to find the length of part of a circle. It's going to be similar to the work that we did then. It's just that we're not dealing with area, we're dealing with length around the circle. We usually call that circumference. I know the circumference in this case, since the radius is 18, I'm going to say the circumference, so the distance around the whole circle, will be 36 pi over 1. Remember, it is diameter pi. The radius is 18, so the diameter must be 36, right? Because it's twice as big. So the whole distance, the whole circle, the distance around the whole circle is 36 pi. I'm going to multiply this by how much of the circle I have. 105 out of 360. Just multiply and obviously simplify your fraction. What we're going to do, my 105 over 360, let me start dividing by 15. Alright, so let's divide by 15. So 105 divided by 15 is, what, 9?
And 36 is 24.
Yeah, 7. 360 divided by 24. Here, wait. Then, so 7 over 24, that's simple. But then we can simplify diagonal. 36 and 24, we can divide it by 12. So this is 3 and this is 2. So now let me multiply straight across. 3 pi times 7, I get 21 pi. At the bottom, 1 times 2, I get 2. Do simplify your fraction. I know some of you guys have the calculators that multiply fractions and already simplify it. Well, that's good for you. If you don't have one of those, then you're doing what I'm doing. You're doing it by hand. So that's pretty much it. Let's take a look at question number 2. The radius is 11. So the distance around the whole circle, the circumference, will be 22 pi over 1. Remember, it is diameter pi. Now I'm going to multiply this by 195 over 360. Because this is how much of the circle we got. Bless. Let's simplify 195 over 360. Let's divide each by 15.
13 over 24.
13 over 24. Then diagonal, 22 and 24, we can divide each by 2. So it's 11 and 12. Alright, so let me multiply it straight across. 11 pi times 13, 143 pi. The bottom, 1 times 12, 12. I know 143 and 12 cannot be simplified more, because I would have been able to simplify it earlier. So that's my answer, 143 pi over 12. So it's very similar to what we did before. It's just that before we used to do area. Now we're doing the length. So any questions on the front? No? Alright, let's take a look at number 11. So let me flip the page. Now question number 11, it says, find the length of each arc, round your answer to the nearest tenth. So now we're going to use pi as a decimal. In real life, when they ask you find the length of the circle or find the length, you usually don't leave the pi in it. You multiply pi as a 3.14. So this time we're going to use pi as a number. We're just going to multiply across. So since my radius is 7, I'm going to say the length around the whole circle should be 14 pi over 1. And I'm going to multiply this by 45 over 360. If you have a simple calculator, just multiply. Don't worry about simplifying in this case. Just multiply. I'm going to go 14 times 45, which, let me see, my case is 450 plus 180. So 14 times 45 happens to be 630 pi. Okay, well, let me do this without simplifying. Let me just do without simplifying. I just went across 14 times 45.
Can you plus out the zeros?
And then at the bottom, 360, because 1 times 360. You said cross out zeros. You can simplify your numbers if you want to simplify. I'm just dealing with no simplify. I'm just without simplifying. And the reason why I'm not going to simplify, because in this case, on the top, I'm going to have to go 630 times pi. I'm going to get my calculator for that, obviously. 630 times 3.14, or if it has the pi symbol, use pi. Whatever you get, divided by 360. Remember, you're going 630 times pi, which is a decimal, and then the decimal divided by 360. What do you guys get?
5.5.
5.5?
Yeah. Number 5 is just 5.5.
Hold on, this thing froze for a minute. Hold on, just let me. So 5.5, that's what you guys got? Yeah, that's what it is. 5.5. Not writing, but that's what we get. Just no pi. Just 5.5. If you're gonna add feet, because we're dealing with feet. But in this case, we don't have a pi. We just have 5.5. And the reason we don't have pi, because we use pi as a decimal. When we went 630 times pi, that's where we became a decimal. So just 5.5.
When you simplify it, like if you're divided by 45, it's 14 divided by, over 8. So you just divide by 8 after you simplify that.
So we got a 5.5, right? Now the question was like, can you simplify it? Like we had 14 pi to begin with, 14 pi times 45 over 360. We're like, well, can we simplify that? Let me divide each by 45. So we get a 1 on top, we get an 8 at the bottom. So we have 14 pi over 8. But then here, go 14 times pi, which gives you a decimal, divided by 8, and it should give you 5.5. So on the back side, don't worry about simplifying. You can simplify if you wish, but I'm saying you don't have to worry because you're going to convert everything into decimal. On the front side, do simplify, but on the back side, do convert everything to a decimal. Yes.
So if you actually multiply 14 times 3.1,
Yes.
make it all by
Yes. So yeah, 14 times pi, and whatever you get divided by 8. If you simplify it. All right, let's take a look at another question. Let's take a look at number 2. Number 11, number 12.
13.
Number 13, all right. Let's look at 13. The radius is 18. So the distance around the whole circle should be 36 pi over 1. Right? The radius times 2. Now I'm going to multiply this by 90 over 360. I can just come over it and go 36 times 90 times pi, whatever that is, right? You type it in your calculator, 36 times 90 times pi, whatever you get, you divide it by 360. Round it to the nearest tenth, so one decimal place, you should finish with 28.3. Do you have to what? And the instruction says round your answer to the nearest tenth. And yeah, you have to round it because otherwise the decimal keeps on going forever. So yes. Francisco, you had a question? For which one?
12.
So okay, I'll come back to 12 in a minute. So 28.3. If you were the type of person that you wanted to simplify this, you went 36 pi times 90 over 360, which is 1 over 4th, which becomes 9 pi, because you have the 4 and the 36, became 9 and 1. So you have 9 pi, then you go 9 times pi, gives you 28.3. So if you want to simplify, because you used to simplify it, but just make sure your answer comes in a decimal number. In this case, 28.3. If you don't want to simplify, for the backside, don't simplify because it becomes a decimal. Does that make sense? Yes. All right, Francisco, you had a question for number 12, right? So the way I will set this one up, I will go 28 pi over 1 times 225 over 360. Because I'm gonna get a decimal at the end. I will just go 28 times 225 times pi, which is a decimal, right? 28 times 225 times pi, and then whatever I get, I will divide this by 360. If you notice, on the top I'm multiplying just straight across. At the bottom I did multiply straight across. At the end, you should get 55.0. If you just write 55, it's okay. Because you don't have to simplify on the back side. Yeah, you don't have to. So once again, the front side, when you're leaving pi in it, do simplify the fraction. 49.9. But what comes after the 9? On your, because you have 49, your answer was 49 point. Okay, you have 54.9, what? 95? So the 5 makes this 9 go up, which makes this 4 go up, right?
So we have to round it up?
So you have to round it up to 55.0. Remember, the 5 makes the 9 go up, but it's, in order for 54.9 to go up, it has to become 55.0. Okay. Any questions? Seems like everybody's here.